Good morning. Happy Monday. We're doing a Monday behind the scenes of building an agency. And we're gonna transfer coffee from the thermos to my mug. Boyfriend and I make our coffee together every morning, but then I take the dog for a walk, and so mine sits in a thermos, and I actually made a mess. I put a scoop of collagen in it, and then some Aldi creamer. Oh, on this episode of running an agency, actually really good timing. For some reason, I woke up at 3 a.m. last night and was up until about 4:30 having a panic attack for no reason. Couldn't tell you why. Just like, is my business gonna fail? Does everybody hate me? Am I terrible at what I do? Why am I doing this? What am I doing? That doesn't happen all the time, but it does happen. And I know other business owners can relate to it. I think it just comes from the immense pressure that we're all under. So super well rested today for sure. Let's jump into the day. All right, we're now in my little corner. I look rough. It's fine. It's Monday, which means I don't take meetings on Monday. Monday is my biggest focus day of the week. Mondays and Fridays. Fridays I take calls, but it's a little bit different. But anyway, so what I do first is I'm going to go through my email, flag anything that is important, but I'm not gonna do client check-ins yet. After this, we're gonna jump into our CEO meeting. So I'm actually just gonna pull up, I use Gmail and see if anything is big. And no, nothing from a lot of cool emails that I'll probably take time later tonight to read, like some of my favorite subscriptions. Anne Handley is one of my favorites. So then the next thing we have to do is our CEO meeting. And so this is something I do every single week. And I'll tell you what I'm about to do because it's gonna take me probably about an hour. I start with my top 3. So I name a revenue goal, a systems goal, and then one personal/energy goal related to my business, which now I really have 3 that I'm growing. So it's kind of related to the portfolio of businesses. And then I do a utilization review for the 128. So I look at all of my contractors and myself, and I go through our billable and our non-billable hours. And then I figure out where each person spent most of their time. And that's not to micromanage them, that's to make sure that I'm supporting those people. So if for some reason somebody's super heavy on meetings one week, it's like hey, is everything okay? Do you need me to jump in on something? Or if they appear to be struggling with a task, like do we need a better tool? Let's talk about it. It's never something where I'm like, you should be doing this faster. That's toxic. I think there can be tough conversations down the road if patterns emerge, but for the most part, they're likely doing that because they don't have the support. So this is for me to flag any anomalies and also understand patterns and trends and make sure that our billable is healthy. And then I'll go through profit. So we look at labor costs, weekly profit, and make sure our margins are good and healthy. And then I remind myself of all of my work-life boundaries. So off-limit hours, my personal anchors are meals, movement, and connection. And then I really have to focus on planning those. Like, am I gonna be eating healthy, nourishing meals this week? And did I create time in my calendar to make that possible? Do I have movement built in? I work out 5 days a week, but I also walk every single day. So do I have time to walk my dog and to be outside and to be away from my phone? And then connection is the hardest one. So it's like setting up coffee chats or trying to do things with friends. And that's been really hard lately because we're also house hunting. So most of my time outside of work is spent going to house showings and doing that whole process. So that's been a little bit harder, but that's what I'm about to do now. And then I will check back in. I need to pause my lo-fi beats. That's what I play to focus. So I just did all of that and I won't share the details of that. That's obviously confidential, but I will share my top 3 for the week. So my revenue goal for this week is to generate 2 qualified leads. So that is somebody who is able to pay our premium and then also has expressed that they're interested. It would likely be like disco calls next week, potentially a proposal. The second is to build and document our offboarding for employees because we do have an intern leaving this summer. She got a new opportunity. And I don't really have, I've had to offboard one other person before, but the person had barely been with us. So it really wasn't like they weren't deeply embedded, and she's been with us for over a year. So, and then the third thing is my personal energy goal. And that is to find one person locally who I could do things like coffee chats with and is also a business owner, because I have a lot of friends who are not creatives. It's not that they're not creative, but they're not doing what I'm doing with like content and business. And so it's hard to talk to them and vent to them about these things, which is no fault of their own. But I just need more people in my circle that get it and that I can talk to. So I've typically gone to Charleston networking events with the hope of meeting people like that. But there's usually just realtors there that are trying to like push their business cards on you and I haven't found it very successful, which is something that I'm very dedicated to working on and leaving my mark on Charleston with. More to come on that. CEO meeting is now over, so now it is time to pre-film for the week. So I have my newsletter and my blog that went out for the 128, and now we need to film the short form for TikTok that will also be put onto Instagram. Since I'm at my computer, I'm going to just start doing the carousel post prep, and then we will do the 3 videos. So 2 talking heads, 1 voiceover. And then I need to film for my personal TikTok. We are on an A week, so I do A and B weeks, and my A weeks are sales focused and my B weeks are content focused. So we will be pre-filming, but then this afternoon we'll be going very hard in the paint for sales. So more to come on that later, but I'm gonna head upstairs to my little corner and pre-film. By the way, I already mapped out my content on Sunday. So these are just like talking points and the overall theme of the week. And then we already posted the blog and mailed the email newsletter with the newsletters exclusive. If you want to be on that newsletter, I'll show you how to get to it. We have the 128collective.com/links. And if you come here, subscribe to the newsletter, you can sign up here, and we send freebies every single, and you can also go through, and we included a lot of info on what to expect. Filming done, editing done, captions done. Took me 40 minutes. We're set for the week now. Super efficient process over here. Now we're going to move on and do client check-ins, team check-ins, and then I actually had a lead text me, so I need to text him back. It's 10 a.m., so I have about 2 more hours. On Mondays, I go meet my boyfriend for lunch with the dog. So we're going to leave for that at noon, but we do have 2 hours. I think I'm going to chug through as many to-dos as possible because I really want to focus fully on sales for pretty much all the afternoon. So more to come on that. I'll let you know what random things I pepper in the rest of the morning. All right, it is now 11:30, and what did I just do? So I checked in with my team, and everybody seemed to be good. I replied to some of we use ClickUp as a project management tool, so I reviewed some work, replied to some questions, checked in with everybody. I also checked in with all of my clients, just made sure everybody was set and felt supported, and we all had clear priorities for the week. I did knock out a couple quick to-dos, like scheduled an email newsletter for somebody, worked on some project management board architecture, and talked to the project management tool support team really quick. I also captured all of the top priorities for all clients this week and make sure that, me and my team are on the same page. We had to move around some meetings. And I also worked on holding boundaries, which is really big for me. I also texted back the lead, trying to get something scheduled for tomorrow or Thursday. Wednesday is wild this week. And then what else did I do? I didn't really prep for my sales block this afternoon, so we'll have to pour a cold brew when we get back and do that. My inbox is a mess. And now I'm going to clear my storage on my phone and my computer for CapCut and get the videos I've taken so far uploaded to CapCut. And then at noon, we will be taking our lunch break. We just got back from lunch and it is 1:01 and I have my time block starting at 1:15. So I'm actually going to clear all the dishes because we forgot to we ran the dishwasher last night, but I think it was so full it didn't do everything. So we had to run it again this morning. So I'm going to take 15 minutes to kind of like tidy up the kitchen, maybe light a candle, and then we're going to pour cold brew and plan out our sales block. So I will be back very shortly. All right, we're back in front of our computer and we have cold brew, and y'all are about to go be locked up in a room upstairs. But I am going to be honest that sales is my weak point. I am a marketer and a project manager. I'm not really a salesperson, but as a business owner, you have to step up and do that, which has been interesting. And it's been the thing I've struggled with the most. I typically get most of my business through social media or referrals, and my leads, we have a pretty high retainer cost. Like, we're not really made for the small business or the 1 to 2 person company. We're definitely more like the 20 to 50 person companies or 50 to 200 person companies. That's where we can do our best work. We have the most impact and where we tend to fit the budget the best. Like, it's a good fit on both sides. But something I've been struggling with is like how to find new leads outside of those channels, because something on social media is that it is a very long sales cycle, which is fine because we plan for that. It's why we post so much. It's why, like, I've had a lot of people ask me, like, you spend a lot of time on your content marketing for a service-based business. And I'm like, yes, we have brought in a lot of revenue from our social media. And that's not necessarily like a one-to-one conversion with the exact watcher, but sometimes it's a watcher that then refers us to somebody. Or, like I have a relationship with a really cool person on social media and they introduce me to somebody. So technically that's still a referral. And that's the negative side of referrals, is that they're very unpredictable. There's a girl on TikTok, Savannah Jordan, who talks about this, and I think she puts it very eloquently, that referrals are the most volatile source of leads. Now, something that we're really good at for others is building inbound marketing engines. For example, one of my clients is a B2B professional services firm, and we bring in 90% of their leads through inbound, through things like blogs, social media, podcast. I don't have the team or the budget that they have, but it's really frustrating for me when I sit down and I try to recreate this for myself. I'm like, why does this not work? Our business models are extremely similar. I can't get this to work for me. So this is something that I've been struggling with a lot, and it's why the sales blocks are so hard for me to see through. And like, I have to have my cold brew and my low-fi beats and like the perfect environment. The temperature needs to be just the right, at the perfect temperature, and I need to be dressed nice and feel motivated. It's very hard for me. It doesn't come naturally. And that sucks because like if you don't have revenue, you don't have a business. So it's something that's constantly nagging me in the back of my mind. So I have my pipeline in front of me with a bunch of different leads, and it's like I can follow up with these people today, but that's not really doing much. And I will. That will be part of, it's going to be a small part, hopefully like 20 minutes follow up. I made a white paper that I'm sharing out as part of cold outreach because I honestly hate cold outreach. So I try to minimize how much I do it and instead provide like a piece of value and be like, hey, like we're a resource for you if you ever need us. And then hopefully I'll meet them at a conference or something. And I do think going to conferences is going to be one of my inroads. However, those are expensive. I would love to go to inbound. It's like $3,000 for a ticket. On top of having to secure flights, having to secure a hotel room, you have to do the networking, which naturally incurs costs for drink. You need to make sure you have a good wardrobe. And yes, these are all business write-offs, but that doesn't make it much easier. The other part of that is traveling alone as a female is very, very intimidating. So it's like, do I bring my boyfriend with me or do I bring an employee with me and then pay their way? It's very difficult. So anyway, as I sit here, I think I'm going to chat with Claude for just a couple minutes and kind of get an idea of, what AI would recommend. That's been something I've been doing. I've been following salespeople. I'm not in a place where I'm going to invest in sales training. I'm just trying to figure out what works for me because Charleston networking events don't work. It's very, very micro small businesses. And like I said, the budget is never a fit. It's just not our ICP. So I'm going to chat with Claude and then I'll be back with my plan of attack. All right, so I chatted with Claude. It's 1:25. I have 5 minutes. I'm going to run you through what I'm going to do. 90 minutes here. We're going to build a target list, doing some LinkedIn research. Then we're going to warm up some existing relationships. So that's kind of leaning into the referral piece. And then with part of that, that's about 20 minutes. I can also reach out to some of my already warm leads. And then we'll spend anywhere from 30 minutes to an hour of this time doing targeted outreach. We're going for 6 people from the list. My goal is to pull 15 names in the first 10 minutes. And then finally, we're going to log them all in ClickUp, set follow-up reminders, and then potentially post something on my LinkedIn. I haven't decided if I'm going to do it on my personal LinkedIn or the company. I think the company. I'm throwing a lot of new social media at myself this month, and I don't know if I can take on another one right now. So I'm about to go. I don't have a brick, but I'm basically bricking you guys upstairs, and then I'll come get you at 3 o'clock, and I'll let you know how it went. Oh, I don't have my watch on. Let's actually go get my watch. It is 3:12 right now. So I did the 90-minute sales block, and what I actually ended up doing is as I got into it, I realized I was a freelancer for 2018 to 2024, I would say. Worked with a lot of brands, a lot of cool clients, and I never left on bad terms with anybody. So what I actually ended up doing was going back through and compiling a list of those people, and I did outreach. And I just said, hey, what's up? Here's what we're kind of up to. I keep breaking my watch strap band thing, so I have been using a paper clip. But anyway, I was on good terms with all those people, so I just reached out and said, like, hey, what's up? Here's what I've been up to, and here's kind of who I'm looking for. Is there anyone in your network that you think might benefit from this? And if not, like, no worries, but also we should just catch up and say what's up. So I sent out a bunch of those, and then I did identify some new people. I logged them into my CRM. I actually already have a potential lead, but it's not new, so that doesn't fulfill the weekly goal. I need to find 2 new leads. And y'all won't really get to see the rest of the week because I don't have enough phone storage to do a week in my life, but that's what I just spent the last 90 minutes on. And then I had a snack and I started watching the Canva Create keynote, which seems really exciting. I knew it was going to be AI and it's like AI 2.0, so I kind of rolled my eyes for a second. But then they were talking about like layered designs, being able to schedule your agent, being able to upload HTML files from Claude Code, which is Claude's. I love Claude almost as much as I love my pup, who I'm now going to take outside. We do a little like people watching and I just hang out outside with her for about 15 minutes. So we're gonna go do that and then we're coming back to do Pilates and then get back on the computer. I have been taking creatine, part of a new health journey initiative. Anyway, creatine is supposed to be really, really good for female, like obviously building muscle, but also mental clarity and focus, which is something that I could definitely use. So this is, I got off of Amazon and so far I really like it. I've been taking it since we got back from Hawaii, which was literally on April 1st. So I should start really feeling the benefits, but I would say almost immediately I start feeling the mental clarity. The afternoons are my slump, so I try to take it right before a workout, or if not, I just kind of try to like take it midday with a snack. So I just had a snack, so I'm gonna take this outside with me. Look at what you did, Betty. All right, it is Pilates time. This is what I do for Pilates right now. When we get a house, I will be converting our garage into a home gym. But I go to YouTube, I search 30-minute Pilates videos. Monday, sorry if you can hear that. I do arms and abs. Wednesdays, I do legs, and Fridays, I do full body. So I just found this Pilates by Izzy, 30-minute upper body and core with band. That's actually 30 minutes.
Of fresh leather.
I hate when they say 30 minutes, then it's actually 38. I only have time for 30 minutes. So we're gonna roll out the mat, grab the band. I don't think there's any dumbbells with this one. And we're gonna do it. So I'm gonna take off my necklace and my shirt and I'll be back. I have literally no storage. So I'm gonna feed my dogs, go to this house showing, and then I gotta come back, read through email newsletters, submit some stuff for my dog's insurance, and do some research for work. And that'll wrap up my day, probably somewhere around 9 or 10 tonight. That's a pretty accurate look behind the scenes in a Monday. So thanks for watching. If you enjoyed it, please subscribe and come back next week for more.